Um, Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Welcome back again to yet another one of our sneak peeks. Today we have with us David Gerber, who is Vice President of Tech and Mergers and Acquisitions at Corum Group. He's going to be our keynote speaker for the upcoming Capture Conference 2022 to be held September 7th and 8th, just south of Chicago at a lovely resort. If you've watched these from the beginning, you'll notice that my hair is much longer now, and from the time that I interviewed Ralph Gammon, and I desperately need to get to a barbershop. That said, David, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi, Bryant.
And we're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions in the capture industry. So,
Because who doesn't want to do that?
that's right. So the first question is very basic. Capture industry has always been, obviously critically important. I think we would both agree with that, but kind of a little bit sleepy. Why the sudden influx of bucks into this industry?
Well, forever, you said it exactly right. It's always been a required technology, but it seems to never want to be the main player on the stage, right? Everybody else gets all the attention. It's like the sleepy uncle in the background, right? You need the document management, you need the workflow, and everybody kind of forgets how to get the documents in, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that has been the case, and yet the progression of the technology has been very impressive. We're doing the things that we used to say were nirvana, right? I just want to put documents in a scanner or whatever and have it tell me what they are and take information off. Now, I tend to think sometimes people exaggerate their capability but the point is the disparity of technology used to be pretty wide. Like Kofax was the only player. Everybody else was a wannabe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, 1998, 99, right? Where we literally were just coming out of having to build our own capture applications with adrenaline cards and things like that, right? To now, right? I don't know if you're aware, but there's literally over 400 registered capture companies. Now, some lines could be blurred with how you define capture, but the point is that there's over 400 companies registered as intelligent document processing. Here's the thing. What's happened is the technology is narrowed. Can you really tell me all the differences between Effisoft and Kofax, or what used to be AnyDoc, Parascript, Ancora, and Rossum now, and TCG? There's hundreds of them, right? And the differences between them now are narrowing, right? Now, what that leads to is building into being part of the ecosystem, not a separate entity, right? So and what you're seeing now is the RPA vendors are getting all the noise, right? Which is a whole different subject that we could talk about. But the point is, though, I've spent a whole bunch of time with the RPA vendors, and what they realize is, yeah, I've got these software robots and I can do transactional things, but what people really know is what hasn't changed is 80% of the data we're dealing with is still coming from unstructured documents, right? AIM has pointed that out forever, right? So I still need to find a way to get information off of documents to feed it to the robots. All of the vendors, UiPath, Blue Prism, all of them have recognized I need something there. So they've partnered with companies, Kofax, Abby, whatever. And UiPath just made the forward move of buying a company, Reinfer, right? Who, by the way, has anybody heard of? I've never heard of this company, right? We've lived in this world, right? So my point prior is there really that much difference? I don't know. And that leads to a consolidation factor. But people recognize I need to get data off of these unstructured instruments, documents, and put into systems, right? And then keep the governance of those documents so I know what I've got, right? So it's still an important factor, but I think it's not ever going to be the standalone everything. It's always going to be the slave to the primary application, line of business application. I believe. I don't think it's ever going to be. Harvey and I have had conversations about this. Harvey Spencer and I about capture simply becoming an API.
Mhm.
Not sure I buy it. He and I debate this. I don't buy that yet, right? But the point is that the technology is narrowing to a point where it's going to be like AI now is it's table stakes, right? You're going to have capture because paper. I don't see it going away in our lifetime anytime. So it's a long answer, but there's lots of attention because it's still recognized, but I don't know that it's ever going to be the thing that we've said it's always going to be, right? 9 billion or 20 billion, or I don't know, make up a number, right? There's always
Right.
going to be somewhere.
So it still remains a critical piece of the overall puzzle, but like you
Yeah,
said, I know Harvey's talked about the Legoization, the containerization, or however you want to
yeah,
put it, of
yeah,
just being able to plug and play.
right.
I I tend to sort of, I think, straddle between probably the two of you and think that there'll be some of that, and like everything,
Yeah,
it depends, right? The ultimate consultant answer.
I
Uh,
think it'll be a slope kind of thing, right? Because you could say that the engines from Amazon and Google and Microsoft are capture products,
yeah.
but they're not. They're engines, and they don't do the things that we think of as an application, right?
Mhm.
So where's the line there? You know, that I know capture products that have incorporated all three of those engines and use a voting technique to determine what the best answer is, right? So is that four capture products? I don't know, right? So
As long as it gets the job done.
that yeah,
Yeah.
that is the part where AIM is, I think, doing a great job, and I think that we need to educate users more on what all these components are, not one at a time. You need
Yeah.
the best capture. Right? It's a process, not just a point solution. I think.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
So just I'll leave aside the RPA because, as you said, that's a we could spend an hour on that.
Yeah. I don't.
So, but sort of a similar sort of we're kind of seeing the capture and process industries kind of aligning and becoming a single industry. Is that something that you would agree with and you see out sort of maybe bubbling underneath the surface out in the M&A world?
Well, um, part of the answer to that is if you look at Kofax today, right? We all know what just happened with Kofax. Do you view Kofax, does anybody view Kofax as a capture company anymore? I mean, I don't. You look at them, we think of them that way because
Have it.
we old guys, right?
Right.
Old people, we're so used to seeing them there. But if you didn't know anything and you came out of nowhere and looked at Kofax today, you would not look at Kofax like a capture company. You would
Mhm.
look at them as a hyper automation enablement company with, total agility kind of being at the core and pieces fitting into it, one of those being capture.
Mhm.
So um, that's the thing I've noticed most is Highland, right? His was never a capture company, but they've bought like three capture
Right.
companies, right? So it's a needed component in that infrastructure, but not the component. OpenText wouldn't consider them a capture company, but they've bought half dozen, maybe more. I don't know, in these 75 companies they bought. I don't know how many capture.
Everyone loses count. It's okay.
But the point is that there's a need, but you're not going to put it front and center. So again, I just think that capture is not going to go away anytime soon. It's just never going to be it's not going to be the king or queen at the prom. It's just not, which is a
It,
shame, but it's true. Yeah.
right. Well, it's kind of funny I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm kind of hearing you say is like none of these things are really king and queen of the prom, to use that analogy, because the work, RPA. Well, RPA maybe from the point of view of money is
Yeah.
king of the prom, but from a point of view of rolling out a solution that works for customers, everybody, all of these technologies are just kind of members of the court, and you kind of need them all.
Well, forever and a day, our industry, right? We are the slave applications to the business process. So if you're a mortgage company,
Yeah.
you don't buy document management to do mortgage processing, right? That's your loan origination system. That's your business, right?
Right.
We are the supportive technology underneath it that helps you deal with this thing called data and paper, right? If you're in the insurance claims business, right? You're maybe a third party processor. You don't you're a third party processor. You have technology that manages claims. We don't manage claims. We manage the paper, right? And the bundling of that or the grouping of that paper and extracting data from it to feed the claims management system. And you can go on and on and on here, right? ERP systems are your line of business application. We feed it the information you need. We've always been that, always going to be that, right? Our workflows in our space are the automation background, right, for enabling a process to happen. Financial services, banking, insurance, government, right? The unemployment office, right? They buy our technology to automate part of the process. But when those agents are looking at a screen, they're not looking at our stuff. They always want our stuff to be part of their application, and it's never going to be different. Yeah.
Sort of switching gears a little bit, just focusing purely on the cash aspect of what you do. As the economy, there's recession, inflation is up, is down, is maybe not, maybe yes, who knows? Do you see cash continuing to flow into mergers and acquisitions? Obviously, Kofax and Infosource maybe indicator or an outlier. Or
great question. There's a whole bunch of people comparing the current market to last year, right? Valuations are off, or VC money is off. And some of that's true, to a certain extent. But what you have to understand is last year was the absolute insanity year, right? It was off the charts, right? But when you look at the real numbers, the numbers of transactions, particularly in the low to mid market, which is where there's really only one, well, maybe I guess you could say Highland, they're owned by Thoma Bravo, but OpenText. But 99% of the companies in our space are considered low to mid market, right? Not a lot of companies over 500 million in our market, right? So in the low to mid market, transaction volumes are actually up 47%. There's more transactions this year. Now, valuations have steadied. They've steadied. They've actually not in this market, not gone down. Where they've gone down is in the larger transactions. They've gone down. Right. And VC money investments has gone down, but gone down to $58 billion. I mean, okay. I don't know how down that is, and there's still in the financial buyer market, there's still $3 trillion of what they call dry powder. I don't know whoever came up with that name, but the point is it's money. They have money to invest. It's $3 trillion. And they're built to invest. So the other thing that's happening is the strategic buyers, the larger companies, are recognizing technology investments, and they are making investments in technology. Now, again, you might not get, the 8 times or 10 or 20 times revenue, that your buddy got or you read about in a magazine, right? Because it was nuts, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to get one-time revenue either. What a lot of it still comes down to, Brian, is running a good company, right? Recurring revenue, profitability, processes, right? These are the staples that increase valuations, not because of something you read in a magazine or online on the internet, right? So transaction volumes are up, valuations are steady. Recent survey by McKinsey says that 74% of the, I think it was 2,000 leaders that they interviewed, said that they believe it's going to stay steady or go up, valuations. So, at the end of the day, I guess the answer is we'll see, right?
but if you're looking to sell a company in this space, your odds are looking pretty good from kind of reading between the lines of what you just said.
Our volume is up from last year, and last year was a record year for us. So we read these things of, somewhat doom and gloom, or, oh my God, beware. And yet everything we're doing at Corum says just the opposite. Uh,
Okay.
now, what's going to happen next year? I don't know, but I think it doesn't seem we're going to get hit in the face with a recession, like a ball peen hammer or
Mhm.
something, right? I think we're going to get bumped and bruised, but I think we'll come out the other end of this pretty steady. That's what the financial indicators say to us at this time.
Okay. I think you've alluded to this to the answers to this question I'm about to ask, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you for explicitly.
Okay.
Why is the VC money interested in these vendors, and is it flowing primarily to any particular kind of uh, vendor in the space, AI versus capture? Um, Sorry, I just put the train ran off the track there, but I think you know what I mean, sort of.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's actually been less VC money spent in our space recently, over the last actually couple of years, than strategic buys, right? Or
Okay.
financial buyers, right? Which can be different, right? VC monies, some will refer, look at like vampires, right? They just come in and suck everything out, right? But that's not always true, by the way. But there are financial buyers that want to build a portfolio, like a Thoma Bravo, or
Mhm.
Capital Markets, or TA, right? Right. And then there are strategic buyers. So the Salesforce, the Microsofts. I don't know if you know this, but the largest acquirer of technology companies over the last 2 years was Accenture. Uh,
Oh,
with like
well,
58 acquisitions, something to that effect, right? So that we look at it as there's two sides to the market. There's the financial buyer market, and there's the strategic buyer market. The strategic buyer market, I believe, is going to pick up because as it relates to capture, right? That's what we're talking about here. As it relates to capture, AI in general has become table stakes, right? Quorum publishes a top 10 technology trends every year, right? For that, as it relates to M&A in the low to mid market, and for the last whatever 3, 4, 5 years, AI was on that list of
mhm.
trends. It is no longer, because if you
It-
don't have it, just stay home, right?
It's
Kind of thing.
kind of like the cloud. Anybody that says, "Hey,
Yeah,
we're a cloud vendor," is like, okay, yeah, great, right?
yeah, right, right. You're not, you get a great big yawn from the buying community if you say, I still have legacy software, right? And they go, oh my God. Right? So uh, AI is kind of built it. Now, the fact of the matter is most of the AI stuff is a big old BS, right? When you talk to the true players, right? The people that really understand what's going on under the covers, most of what people claim to be AI is not anywhere close to AI. Most of it's machine learning,
Yeah,
supervised or unsupervised, whatever.
yeah.
But the point is that people are looking to add this capability to the portfolios, right? They know they need it. They don't, and I can go get this technology without having to spend $500 million.
Mhm.
I could go buy a very capable technology company that provides this capability that maybe just can't. They're stuck in the mud. They can't get off the ground. They're 5 million, 8 million. I don't know, whatever, right? But if I have that technology, it could get me into a market, right? I'll go buy
Mhm.
that, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not looking to be a capture company. I just need that component to get me into the market, right? And now I have this whole room full of opportunities to go buy. So I believe you're going to see more of that. So
Hmm.
yeah, I believe the Kofax Episoft, I don't want to jump ahead, but is the beginning of more to come. Yeah.
Well, that is the next question.
Yeah.
I'll just ask it very broadly. What do you what do
Yep.
you what do you think about that?
Yeah. This is, Samuel L. Jackson said in the movie, hold on to your butts in Jurassic Park, right? Yeah, that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see more of this now, especially because I think some people were surprised, Kofax buying Episoft. Everybody, I think, well, in our space, knows the story, ex-Kofax guys, blah, blah, blah. But Ike Voss is wicked smart and just the nicest guy you'll ever meet, right? And he surrounded himself with really smart people, really good people, and he built a great company, right? But also really awesome technology, great methodology, the whole thing, but never unicorn status, never able to get to what we'd all hoped this market would get to, right? No good reason for it, just isn't going to be, right?
Mhm.
So Kofax buys them, right? And I get it. I guess we could all debate why. I think they bought them because KTM isn't up to that level of where it needs to be, and now I can fill it, and I get a true cloud
Mhm.
solution out of the gun, and I get a channel that is very loyal to yourself. Now the question will be is, what's Kofax going to do with it, right? How is this going to affect the channel program and things like
Mhm.
that? So we'll see, right? But think about it for a minute, is as I started saying earlier, all of those other technology companies with really, really good technology, just not
Mhm.
as big. I can go get really, really good technology and maybe a channel, right? Or some portion of a channel for a whole lot less money than it would take me. Some of these guys have 100 man-years of development into these products.
Yeah.
And I could go get it for a relative song, right?
Mhm.
Imagine I could go buy an entire channel, technology, the patent whole thing for 20 million. I don't know. That's a steal, right? And it would still be 4 or 5 times revenue, which pretty good,
Not
right?
too bad, right?
Right. So that is why I think you're going to see. I think you might even see a spurt of it now. Maybe from the dynamic case management companies or the low code, no code companies, maybe. Um, I think less on the financial buyer side. I think it's going to be more on the strategic buyers side. I believe. So those applications where you're using a lot of BPO services, right?
Mhm.
You could build in this capability to a lot of line of business applications fairly easily, with a low code integration tool, and you know, save yourself millions, right?
Yeah.
So
That
it,
that's a good point. Yeah. Um,
yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
as you were talking and going back to the point that you made about 400 registered capture companies and sort of I was talking to Petra the other day and it's like it seems like every you look and it's like 450 and then it's going to be 500 and then it's going to be 550 but at the
Right.
same time
Yeah.
people they're also being bought. Do you see continued, um, almost like I don't even know how to phrase this question, but almost like a continued entrance of new companies into this market as it consolidates and as you know financial and investment, as
Yeah.
people make investments in the existing companies,
Well,
or do you see it sort of slow? That new entrance into this market slowing down?
Well, I think you'll see. I think well, you're already seeing some of it. As I said, some of these companies we've never heard of. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. 10 years ago, you ever hear of Rossum? I
Yeah.
no, or Reinfor, the UiPath company they bought, or they're 5 years, 7 years ago, TCG Process didn't even exist, right? 7 years ago, the engines from Amazon and Google and Microsoft didn't exist, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, do I think will try to, hey, I could go build an engine, a basic capture processing engine. I can get some outsourced development, use the engines that are available. There are AI engines, ML engines, recognition engines out there, and build it and grow it to, I don't know, $1 million, all right, and sell it for three. uh, and the quality of the extraction, because all I'm really doing is this is a piece of paper. What is it? And I'm going to extract some data pieces. Now I don't need to be as sophisticated as the really high end, like the
Mhm.
Effisops or Abbeys, which do some really cool stuff, right? But there's a whole bunch of small and mid market companies that don't need fancy stuff.
Yeah.
So I go build $1 million capture company, sell it for three. I'm done, right? And and I think we're going to see some of that now. Look, in the world of M&A, that's not going to move the needle anywhere. Nobody's going to have a ticker tape parade over a $3 million acquisition, right? But the question was, is that going to happen? Yeah, the ones that are in trouble, in my opinion, are the higher end capture only companies, right? Like I'm a huge Abby fan, huge, right? But think about it for a moment, right? Where's the diversification? You're a capture company. When you think of Abby, you think of capture, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got a couple other components, and the new Vantage offering is unbelievably impressive, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you're a capture company. Kofax on it has moved away. You get in a room. Reynolds doesn't even like to talk about capture, right? That's just a component of what we do,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're a hyper automation company, and so if you're at the top of that ladder, it's going to be harder for you, right? You can't go buy Abby for $100 million. You can't do it,
Right.
right? But I could buy technology that's pretty darn good, maybe not quite as good, but pretty darn good for a whole lot less than that. And you'll never see the name of that product again. It just will get buried in to the line of business application that I need to accomplish the goal. So uh, I see that happening as those tools become more available. How hard would it be to go build a company that'll get me pretty close to
Right.
the abilities to capture documents? Not too hard, I don't think. You know?
Well, we could continue going for a lot longer. This has been
Yeah,
fascinating. I appreciate the time. We
my
probably need to
pleasure.
stop here.
Fun
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you very much,
My
Dave,
pleasure.
for the time and insights. Look forward to meeting you in September.
I look
And
forward to seeing everybody.
everyone else out there listening to this, hope to see you there as well.
Yeah,
And
look forward to it.
bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.